Alright, and so the last time we saw these, they had just gone over their 100 grit and going to 320 next. I haven't done that yet. I did go through and grade all the sides based on how good they were. A is flawless or near flawless. B has 1 or 2 flaws. And then a D and an F for subpar and major failure. Any failure at this point. And I graded failure by being unable to repair it through more sanding. Essentially right in there you can see the divot. I basically nearly melted a hole trying to get rid of another divot such as the one right next to it, and that one is still there. This piece is overall as thin as I would like the final pieces to be, so I'm going to take some measurements on that. The D side is still good, so potentially I could still use this piece because this side it's a little pitted still, but it's not far away. It's only that side that is gone. Then one of them is an A on one side and then a D on the other. So I've got 3 ABs, an AD, 2 BBs on each side, then the D and the F. I thought I had an 8th panel somewhere, but I only count 7 here, so I don't know where that might have gone. Nevertheless, I only need 2, if not 3, as a spare backup. So these are going to go aside for the moment while I work on the next piece, which is going to be another slab, same thickness, but it's going to be laid into the upper shell so that I can get a wall pattern off it. And away we go. So that was a mistake. I was just going to go for one final saran wrap, and I figured, no, let's try it plain. Ha ha ha. That's it, I got the perfect surface. It was wrinkling up. As the more I rolled, the more the plastic would stretch, the more it would wrinkle up, the more it would shrink back into place. Oh, and I've already got the wrinkles back. So it doesn't take a lot to get them. Alright, so here we go for a near flawless surface. Well, with that being the case, I'll just have to cut some little mods, and then there's that wainscoting that I'm calling it, going across the bottom there. I definitely rolled out more than I needed, by a lot. I think that's about all I can do with this. It's definitely as smooth as it's going to get. You can come back in half an hour or an hour and see how it's doing. I do have some cleanup to do before things really settle in. But essentially, if this water solidifies, then it should be a self-leveling situation, I think. This is probably an hour later. I've cut around the poles there to make things a little easier for myself. And right now, I've got the models. I've got the hull sitting inside another copy of the hull. Since this doesn't have a connector here to make sure that this stays circular, I realize that it's probably going to warp a little more than it would have if this were a perfectly circular piece like this old one is. So, this should work hopefully, or at least it will hopefully help. We'll see how well it does. Alright, so 24 hours later, let's take a look at what we got going on here. It's pretty loose. I deliberately covered at least this much of the central circle so I could use that as a key to set this back in place when I need to. So some water did get through, but it should clean up pretty easy. Yeah, all this is just scratching off, no problem. Sweet. So on to the next step. Alright, so while holding this in position here, and I've drilled a second hole to match up with the actual key that's there. So setting this into position thus, basically flip this over, use the end of my X-Acto to trace a circle. So what I have now is a very faint outline of that circle. So what I'm going to do now is, using my new little spinny tool, is basically carve that out and get as circular as I can from here, just eyeballing it the whole way. And to help things out on keeping the mess down, we'll have the vacuum cleaner going. This may work very well. What I have to do now is not change the outside shape, or at least circularize it, and still build up the inner shape. Yeah. That is wonderful, the way that shape changes. So there was a mistake I made on draft 3. I carved the hole from the inside, so it didn't line up on the outside. So in this case, I carved the hole from the outside, and it's just a little off round up in this corner, unfortunately. Let's see if I can fix it. That's awful close to round. Think we finally got something. So I've noticed that the walls are not quite exact fits. I figured they'd be at least close, or at least closer than they seem to be. But they can actually have quite a So over here it's pretty good. That's almost spot on. The further I get over here, and where did it even go? Gets a little looser right in the corner there. As it happens, this is the side that really matters, so there's no need to worry about that. I've definitely got some sanding to do in here. And I think it's finally time to take this little piece apart. Wow, I really tried to reinforce this as best I could, that's for sure. Alright, so I need to sand some of this crap away.